So, welcome to the Thursday morning call. And I'm just going to say that again. Where the today's topic is what is choosing for you going to create. And interestingly, the way we're taught to choose in this reality is based on what other people expect of us, what other people desire of us, and a lot of our triggers or reactions. Because triggers is something that has been in my world a lot. I've been looking at, okay, what is creating this trigger? What is creating this annoyance or this irritability or this sadness or this feeling of helplessness, whatever it is that when you go into something that we call a distractor in access consciousness, which could be a feeling that takes you out of creation. So all of these feelings that I just spoke about, um, let's say sadness, helplessness, victimhood, or even annoyance, irritability, someone irritating you constantly. Look at how you just start focusing on that feeling, on that emotion, rather than actually choosing that which would create your life. And let me give you an example. Like, let's say I have all of these great ideas that I want to announce as sessions, as classes, because that's the work I do. You can relate it to your job, your work, whatever it is that you create. And you have this kind of thing, somebody in your relationship or a colleague or in the office that constantly irritates you, that their behavior annoys you, and you don't get why someone's functioning like that, or somebody's constantly mean to you. Instead of looking at what is going to change it and what is it that's triggering me here, we kind of go into this emotional reaction that does not allow us to either focus on what we were creating or look at, okay, if I was using this time constructively to look at what else I could create, what else I could have. That, of course, would invite more money too, because I love to look at how also, you kind of destroy your business or your money inflows with all of these distractions. And yes, it also kind of destroys your peace of mind. You can't sleep, you keep worrying about what someone said, why they did this, why it's affecting you so much, and that thought kind of repetitively keeps going on and on and on, and you don't know how to stop it. Now, that's something that I've been looking at. Sometimes it goes away with these amazing tools, the who does it belong to and return to sender, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just kind of stays there, um, constantly annoying you, irritating you, and you're busy with reacting to it. So, what is that? And is that you really choosing you? And if you were really choosing for you, would it be something different? So today my question is, look at whatever it is to you guys, is looking at whatever it is in your life that is creating such a reaction for you that you can't get rid of, that you think you can't change, or you have a point of view that this kind of keeps repetitively happening in my life. The first thing to ask is, okay, how did I create this? Because yes, everything in your life is a creation, your creation. Everything that you have in your life as your reality is what you are creating. Okay. And yeah, I had someone yesterday who was new to Access, and they want to know more about Access. And they're like, when you say I create everything in my life, and we all have been there. I know I asked this question too. Why would I create the messes in my life? Hello, hello, good morning. And why would I choose something like that? Why would I choose an addiction? Why would I choose someone with an addiction? Or why would I choose something bad happening to me? Why would I choose somebody who's annoying in my life? And that person was okay a few years ago, but I don't know what happened. You know, all those things. But know that everything in your life you create, everything. And you guys know that probably not, but look at everything in your life right now that you have a reaction to, that's creating an annoyance for you, that's creating all of those other reactions we're talking about, even the sadness, the helplessness, or whatever it is that is a constant thing, like keeps going on in your head and you can't change it. So now look at, and I was reading this book by, I love to pick up these books randomly and just whatever page opens up. So I was looking at Being You, and I just opened a page, and it was so interesting that Dane talks about how he got upset with one of his friends who had to meet him. They had fixed up a meeting, and so he's talking about upset, and upset could also be a reaction. Okay, and he said that we had this meeting set up for the evening, and she didn't show up. And then later she texted me saying that, you know what, I had a really long day, I'm sorry I got caught up and I won't be able to meet you. And he said my instant reaction would have been to get upset and get angry about how dare you, take me for granted, or how could you do this to me, or you know what, even I don't want to talk to you, or whatever it is. So when we go into a reaction like that, the thing to know is, and to ask a question around is this what I would choose, or is this something that I was taught to choose as the right, good, perfect thing to do? So notice your reactions and ask, is this something that I as a being would choose? Is this truly what I would choose? Or is this something that I was taught to do? Because when you were being a child and you were okay with people, when you were okay with people choosing whatever they wanted to choose for themselves, and that if that included they desiring to cancel a meeting with you, well, then that's their choice. You do not have to make it personal, right? And he says that I looked at, okay, is this really something that I would want to choose? And he said no. So he went to, cool, that's her choice. An interesting point of view that she's choosing to cancel. And the next morning he met her, and he went, instead of going into upset, anger, or reaction, or I'm not going to talk to you because you did this to me. And how many of us do that or get hurt that someone did that to us? He went, hey, hi, what a beautiful morning, and how are you? And she turned around and said, I'm so sorry for canceling on you yesterday. I so wanted to meet you, but so much happened that I just couldn't. And he said, the moment she said that, it's giving me goosebumps even now. This is the second time, third time actually, I'm reading it and relating the story to you guys since yesterday. And he said, my whole being relaxed, because my assumption was that she didn't want to meet me, and that hurt me. And in order to cover up the hurt, I was choosing to go into anger and upset. But in that 10 seconds, I decided that that is not what me as a being would choose. That was something that I was supposed to be choosing as a reaction, as an upset or as anger. And because I was vulnerable and I could see where I was going with that and what that would create for me, and that as a being, I would not choose that. It just shifted the whole thing. It was so amazing. And so many times when we go into reaction, even if it's not something that I as a being would choose, because that was taught to me as the right thing to do, like maybe, you were kind and you did this as a child, and somebody later told you they're taking you for granted and you're letting them. Is that okay? You see, and you start thinking, is what I'm doing okay, or am I supposed to get upset? And then slowly you learn to start to react. So how many of you started to learn to react because this reality expects you to react? That is not your true state of being. Is this conversation making sense to you guys? If you have questions, please put them up here, or please unmute yourself and ask a question, because this is something that is actually destroying your life, the reaction. So who taught you to react? When did you learn to react? And everywhere that we're going to be using the access consciousness clearing statement, everywhere that you are reacting because that's the right, good, perfect thing to do, because that's what everybody expects you to do, because that's what this reality tells you should be doing in order to get the result that you're asking for. Will you please destroy and unclear all? Are you willing to? Assuming you're saying yes. 'Cause I'm surely willing to. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, line shorts, boys and beyond. So, there is this is page, if you guys want to read this bit, you can actually go to page 100 and
Which
um,
book?
this is the Being You by Dane. right? So this is this the little episode that I related. I've been actually asking what triggers, because I've been looking at triggers. So all of those of you who joined late, maybe you can go back to the Showing Up as You Facebook group and listen to what we were talking about. Basically, we're talking about triggers and reactions and how they actually take you out of creation into reacting. So I had been in question now, what would it take to change the triggers? What is the trigger? And how do we change triggers? And that has been a question in my universe, and I'm sure a lot more is going to open up on this. But this was surprising because I just randomly opened up this page on the book, and this was really beautiful. So I did want to bring it to you guys, the first thing. But I had a money call yesterday, so those are the guys that actually I read this out to also, because it is the and that's why I said this is the probably the third time I'm relating this, and even the third time it's giving me goosebumps because just look at how many reactions you have in your world. Just look at even when you're thinking, you're reacting to something or someone, and like Dane says, Dr. Dane here, he's the co-founder of Access Consciousness, and if you guys have heard his any of his calls or his tools, the tools that he gives out, and the Access Consciousness tools, reactions will never create. Action does. And you can take a true action based on what would I like to choose here and what is that going to create. How many relationships are you losing out on? How much receiving are you cutting off because you're choosing reaction over action, right? And there is this amazing tool where you can actually simple question: am I acting or reacting here? So whatever's going on in your world right now, if there's a little turmoil, if there's a little stress, or there's a little upset or worry, anxiety, even sadness, all of these are reactions. Most feelings are reactions because you as a being, do you feel or do you sense? But your body feels. And it's like what I get, my interesting point of view is, yeah, your body's going to tell you when it's feeling hungry or when it's thirsty, when it's feeling cold. But how many of these feelings that we make real of all the things that we just spoke about, the anger, the upset, the hatred, the revenge, how much of the world runs around on on these feelings? And if you're not getting upset when there's something wrong with you, like you don't care enough, hey, you're not getting upset with this, somebody did this to you, I don't think you care enough, I don't think you love yourself so much. No, but I do love myself, and I am a kind person, and I acknowledge that about me, and I don't choose to fight, and I don't choose to get upset. It's okay, that's what the person is choosing. Now, is that something like that you were choosing earlier and then you were wrong for it? Because that's not how everybody else behaves. Are you getting it? So now, a lot of times we're not even able to perceive what our true choice was because we've lived so long based on how this reality functions and how we're supposed to function, how we were wronged. And every time you were wronged, you kind of check in with yourself: did I do something wrong? So a great question to actually ask is, when you're getting upset or when you're going to any of these feelings, anger, others also, even regret, by the way, you're like, what age did I learn to do this? Because it's a learned behavior. It's a react. Any action is something that you learned to do. So what age did I learn to do this? And is this really working for me? So when you begin to ask that question, an age might show up. So let's say you can do it right now. If there is something, whatever we were talking about going on in your world right now, like ask with that reaction, what age did I learn to do this? Is this really working for me? And if not, then how can I change it? And what is my true choice here? And maybe the first time you might not get aware of what you would truly like to choose, but if you be present with it every time that energy comes up, every time you go into that repetitive emotion of whatever it is for you, the anger, the upset, the helplessness, if you look at it, it's like a repetitive pattern. So anything that's a repetitive pattern is something you're choosing over and over again, and you've chosen it so many times that you might not really be aware of your true choice, which is somewhere deep down. But if you keep asking, if you're like, no, this is not me, I'm not going to choose this, because even going into that feeling, into that emotion, choosing to hold on to it longer than 10 seconds is a choice. So everywhere that you're not acknowledging that you're making that choice, rather than going into somebody made me angry or somebody did this to me, so I got upset, or, the situation is making me blah. How much of your power and how much of your potency are you handing over to this reality rather than saying, you know what, I'm not choosing this anymore. So, what is my true choice here? What would I like to choose? And everything that does not allow you to acknowledge or become aware of what your true choice would be in this situation or any situation like this, would you please destroy and uncreate all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, poc, online, shorts, boys, and beyond. So now, what would my true choice be here? What am I aware of? What would I like to choose? And what age did I learn to do this? Interesting. What happened at that age? Cool. Oh my God, something like that happened. Ah, that time it worked for you because you were a kid, you didn't know any better, and you believed the adults telling you all of that. Now you're an older person, you have more power, you have more, let's say, freedom that you didn't have as a kid, although that's also an interesting point of view. But just to kind of take the conversation forward, let's just go with freedom. When you're an older person, you're not that like 8 or 5 or 7, whatever age showed up for you when you chose this behavior, and you can now let it go. So everywhere you're holding on to that behavior or holding on to that reaction, holding on to that state of being as your true state of being, rather than asking, what would I as a being choose here? What would work for me? And it doesn't matter how the world perceives it, receives it. What is true to me? What would I like to choose? And everything that's not allowed that one more time. Will you destroy and unclear all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, line, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now, look at that choice of, even if you don't know cognitively what that choice would be, that's okay. But energetically, do you now know that it's a different choice than what you have been choosing till now? Is it, did you just know it's different than the reaction that you've been going into? So just stay with that. Stay with that. And next time, again, when this pops up, be present. And another tool that I love to use is, because a lot of times we forget that we got to use a tool. So I like to, and I love to give this example, like we were children. And I remember when I was a kid, and sometimes the alarm clock, we had those, the screw up alarm, the kind of chubby wala alarm. I had to key it in. We didn't have the mobile phones. So it used to be an annoying one. All alarms are annoying. But, sometimes my mother would say, if you want to get up and you don't want to hear the alarm, you can just tell your pillow to wake you up at this time. And I tried it even when I went to hostel. It worked. So have you guys heard that? Have you tried it? अपने तकिए को बोल के सो जाओ, वो उठा देगा. Right? So similarly, if you actually tell your being to remind you, say, okay, cool, the universe, your being, or whoever, just set an alarm there. Okay, anytime I'm going into this, just remind me to go back to question, remind me to go back to question, remind me to go back to question, and you will remember. Trust me, it works. So if you kind of forget, if you think that you wouldn't remember, all right, we have some noise. Okay, just muted. All right. So just set that reminder and you will remember. So what would it take for you to be so present every 10 seconds that you never ever go back into reaction again? You always choose from the space of true being, of what would you choose as a being. All right. And now look at the energy of what would that create for you? Would it create a different result? How different would that be? How much more ease and joy and glory would that be? How much more fun would that be? And how much of all the energy that you're storing inside of you, thinking that somebody hurt you on purpose or somebody's doing something to you, right? Cool, their choice. Somebody being mean to you, their choice. Do you have to make yourself the effect of it? But the moment you go into reaction, you have made yourself the effect of it because you can't resist and react to something unless you've aligned and agreed with it. And everything that I brought up, will you destroy and unclear? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, online shows, boys and beyond. So please, guys, start looking at your reactions. Please ask, is this really creating something for me? Then go to, okay, cool. What what is it that I could choose here as as a choice that would work for me? Right. And when you do that little exercise of what age am I being when I'm choosing that, and destroy and uncreate anything that you chose at that age, whether or not you can cognitively remember what happened at that age that made you choose that. Because it could be a series of events, it could be one event, doesn't matter, don't make that significant. Just destroy and uncreate everything that made you choose, to go back to the point of creation where you chose that, when you made that choice. And it's like, you have this huge tree that is not something that you would like to have in your life, like, a cactus or maybe a tree that's run with termites, and you keep chopping off the leaves and the twigs, but it's going to grow back again. So when we go back to the point of creation, when we chose it in the first place and destroy and uncreate that, it kind of just takes the whole thing away. So similarly, anything that you chose that made you choose this state of reaction, if you just go, okay, wherever I chose this, destroy and uncreate all. And when you run the clearing statement, right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all nine shows, poison, beyond, the pock there is the point of creation that will destroy and uncreate. It will just take you back to where it got created. And you might have to run it a few times, okay? Um, don't make time linear. Don't make the number of times you have to do it significant. Just keep doing it till it changes. And then slowly you start to find, or maybe quickly, you don't know that. Like when I read this, it just was like, whoop, zip, zap, zoom. And I got it. I was like, oh, cool. But yes, you might, again, when you're going into reaction, might have to use the tool again. You might have to go, okay, pock and pot, and make that choice of choosing something different. And this is what I wanted to bring to you guys. Like, if you were not going into reaction, if you were not choosing that which is a reactive state, what action would you take that is going to create a greater future? Because these calls are about creating a future. Because every choice you're making this 10 seconds is creating a future. It's just creating. So if you're going to reaction, you're going into somebody did this to me and I'm a victim, and people do this with me, and why am I, or anger, upset. What are you creating more of? Like I said, you're always creating, right? But if you actually take a moment, slow down, and don't slow down your creation, like relax your being. Just get in touch with your being. How much are you running around that you don't have time to connect with your being? Like take a moment, take this moment, connect with your being. Hey being, hello, right? What would you like to choose in this situation? And just that, you know, just that is going to give you a different choice. And then you can choose to either continue to be angry, upset, um, feel victimized, or whatever it is that kind of came up as a reaction or a trigger, irritability, maybe, annoyance. Or you can say, you know what, I'm an infinite being and this shit doesn't bother me anymore. And well, if you want to choose that, I'm an allowance of you. Please go ahead and choose it, see what works for you. I'm here. And even when you do this to me, I'm not going to exclude you from my universe.
Because that's ah okay. Okay, my AirPods. That was interesting. My body telling me that the AirPods are conking off. Can you guys hear me okay? The last thing that I want to bring to you today is uh what was I saying? Kind of just went out of my head. Can someone remind me what I was saying? Or what I was saying? Gone. Gone, gone, gone. Okay, cool. If it requires to come back, it'll come back. Otherwise, we're good. I think we're good. Any questions then? Hmm. That's interesting. They completely got out of my head. Cool. So, unless someone can remind me what I was saying, I really don't remember what I was saying. It's super. Maybe it's not required here. All right. Cool. So, the book is Being You. And what I was talking about today is on page 108. In case you want to read it, in case you want some clearings, get the book. And if you don't have the link to the book, uh, find it. Okay. Cool. So, thank you so much, all of you, for being here. And it's lovely meeting you guys, though I might not be doing this in the first week of Thursday, and we will pick it up again from second week, and I'll put the date here. So next Thursday I might not be on live, maybe I would be, no idea. I'll put it up here. Second week August, we're on again. So keep sending me the topics that you would like me to talk about, if there's anything. And I hope this call was a contribution to you. If you would like to, please go back and listen to it again and again till you actually stop reacting. All right. So
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
thank you guys. Thank you for being here. What else is possible today? Have a lovely, magical day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.